This is my tribute to who I knew as Blind Dog Trosst. And the tribute has two titles. The first, the transmogrification of an artist and the existentialist Kierkegaardian interpretation, juxtaposed with Plato's allegory of the cave teachings of reflective understanding and the perils of mistaking appearance for reality. Opus 11. In the key of E flat, which is of course a blues key. For those of you who got through college on Cliff Notes, transmogrification is the act of changing into a different form or appearance, especially a fantastic or a grotesque one, i.e. the transmogrification of the prince into a porcupine. Existentialism is a school of philosophy that emphasizes the existence of the individual person as a free and responsible agent determining their own development. If you need even further interpretation of any of the other words in this title, I'd suggest using the second title, The Blind Dog Blues. I first met Norvel about 1980, and I was actually teaching a class on the bluesman Robert Johnson. And most of the kids in my class were real young kids, and they want to be bluesmen and all this. And Norvel was Norvel was about my age, and he didn't really play guitar, but he was just really interested in learning about blues music. And that impressed me, that somebody would have such curiosity and such an inquiring mind. And so when Norvel came to work in KPBX, I met him again I guess around 1999, and he reminded me that he had taken that class from me, and we became very close friends, and I was on a show several times. And Norvel and I had a lot of things in common, including being the product of the Catholic school system, as was Zan. Zan has a chapter in a book about that. The difference was that Norvel had gone to, I think it was Sacred Heart Catholic School here in Spokane. And I was born in Manhattan. And I went to a tough Catholic school on the Lower East Side of New York called Our Lady of the Fist. And I point that out to Norvel, when he get just a little hi-de-ho, And so one of the things we talked about in love was, kind of like Catholic humor. And you find Catholic humor is in sort of three stages. It's the elementary humor, it's the humor in college, and then it's the kind of hypocritical humor you learn about, Catholicism after you get out of school. So the elementary school level was, as kids, where we'd say the funny grace, be sitting at the table and somebody say, well, frankly, would you say the grace, And you'd say, good bread, good meat, good God, let's eat. In the name of the Father, skip the Son, third base, home run. Over the teeth, around the gums, look out, stomach, here it comes. Those are the things that got you hit with the ruler. And then a higher level of Catholic jokes that we used to talk about was, I actually had an uncle who was a priest. He was a priest from Pawtucket, Rhode Island. And in my father's family, there's 5 boys. The first boy automatically became a priest. There's absolutely no question about it. And the first girl was supposed to become a nun also. And so he used to tell me these jokes in his kind of Irish, Boston Irish accent. So anyhow, 3 men have a shipwreck at sea, and they're in a lifeboat, and the sea's so rough they're afraid they're going to drown. And so one of them says, I'm an atheist, but I think we ought to try to say a prayer. Does nobody know any? And the second guy says, no, and the third guy says, well, I'm not really religious either, but I used to live next to a Catholic church, and I remember this, under the B, 44, under the I, 16, under the N, 22, they'll have to go all the way through, under the G, 14. Bingo, yeah. And then at the postgraduate level, there's a lot of off-color jokes about that. This is one we thought was pretty funny, where Priest gets off a bus in a tough part of town. He's seeing an ailing parishioner, of course. A hooker comes up to him and says, "Father, around the world, $20." He says, "No, thank you, my child." You know, he goes off to see the sick person. Then he gets back on the bus and he goes back to the parish. And then later on that night, he asked for the Mother Superior. He says, "Sister, what's around the world?" She said, "$20, same as downtown." So Norvel was, you know, when you go to college, you hear the term Renaissance man. And I don't think I ever met a Renaissance man until I met Norvel. And he was smooth and he was refined and he reminded me of kind of those old gentle country blues tunes that you hear, not the heavy blues. And it would be like this. Woke up in the morning about 7 o'clock. Norvel liked his coffee hot. In the studio, on the mic, listen to him talk and see that red light. On the air again. Sound space program. On the air again. Well, Norvel helped me a lot through our, geez, probably 30 years or so of knowing each other. He helped me particularly when I lived in the small town of Spokane for a few years. And I was actually elected mayor. You know, it's really saying something because Norvel liked, I think one of the reasons Norvel liked hanging out with me was that people always referred to me as "and others of his ilk." And Norvel was just so clean and pure and Boy Scoutish and all that, you know. And so anyhow, it was a lottery system. The alternative was stoning, so I accepted the mayorship. And being an agricultural community, we were hit hard by the mad cow disease. But Norvel researched it on the internet and he came down and provided us with these excellent pointers on how to tell if your cow has mad cow disease. She refuses to let you milk her, saying not on the first date. Your cow takes up post-impressionist painting and cuts off one of its ears. Your cow gets silicone udder implants. Your cow appears on Oprah claiming to be a horse trapped in a cow's body. You find your cow hiding secret plans for burning down half of Chicago. Your cow actually seems to enjoy being hogtied. Your cow asks you to brand it again, but only if you wear something sexy. And I can tell Norvel loved that redneck atmosphere. I mean, you know, Spangle's only like 20 miles south, but there's a big time warp or something in between, you know. And he loved the redneck atmosphere, and he had a list. He actually, you know, Norvel was his listener, I think. He actually kept a list of his favorite bumper stickers that he saw down there. So here's some of his favorite redneck bumper stickers. Sometimes I wake up grumpy. Other times I let her sleep in. Honk if my dog falls out. Horn broken, watch for finger. If you can read this, I've lost my trailer. Vegetarian, Indian word for lousy hunter. If walking is good for you, then why does my mailman look like Jabba the Hutt? Remember, stoplights timed for 35 miles per hour are also timed for 70 miles. And his favorite one, if we are what we eat, then I'm cheap, fast, and easy. And there's actually redneck girl bumper stickers. And he had a few favorites of those. How many roads must a man travel down before he admits he is lost? Grow your own dope, plant a man. All men are animals, some just make better pets. We used to go out on Highway 95 there and we'd spy cars with lots of bumper stickers on them and we'd follow them to read them all. And some of those trucks are just covered with bumper stickers on the back, you know. And one time a highway patrol pulls us over there on Highway 195 and the trooper walks up and asks Norvel, got any ID? Norvel said, about what? Another time we were just driving around in the back roads there around Spokane, we spotted this small fire. So Norvel gets on his cell phone and calls the fire department and they say, okay, how do we get there? He said, don't you still have those big red trucks?